I started working at my dad's law firm when I was 18. My dad was the big boss, and two of the lawyers working there were Eric, who is now 41 years old. He was 32 when I met him, and his wife Carol, who is now 36. She was 27 then. At first, I was just answering the phone, making coffee, and doing other tasks like that. The issue is that Carol got pregnant, and after the baby was born, she wanted to return to work as soon as possible. I never enjoyed working for Carol because she was always very demanding and uptight. I liked Eric more as a boss because he was way more relaxed and funny. My dad says they're both great lawyers, but Carol is better. They had problems finding a babysitter because of their crazy work schedules, so they always brought their baby to work. My dad allowed it because he really didn't want to lose Carol, so I had to take care of the baby whenever he was in the office, feeding, burping, changing his diapers, getting him to sleep, and generally giving him attention. The kid is now in grammar school. 3 years ago, Carol and Eric started their divorce, and they both had to leave my dad's firm because they hated each other so much that they couldn't work together, but it would have been unfair for one of them to stay. I had become very close to their son after spending so much time with him in the office. Eric and I also became close friends. He started his own firm and asked me to go with him. He also opened up about his feelings for me, and we started dating. Now we're living together in his big apartment, and my life is generally great. This issue started last week when Carol came to drop off the son. I was waiting by the door happily and said hi to Carol, but she wasn't in a good mood. She told me that my happy face was annoying and that she missed when we were all using face masks, so she wouldn't have to see it that much. She always has this harsh sense of humor, and I'm generally not that affected by it, but this time it made me feel bad. I started to cry a little in the elevator, and the kid became worried about me. He told me that he had also cried that week when other kids at his school made fun of him for wearing a Sonic costume to class. I said those kids were bullies, and that he should ignore them. He asked me if his mom was a bully, and I had to be honest and said that she sometimes was. The issue is that apparently, he later talked to Carol about all this and asked her to stop bullying me. She's angry because she feels I'm putting her son against her, but that wasn't my intention. Maybe I should have been more careful with my words, but I also think she could have been a little nicer to me. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. Look, don't get between parents because one thing parents will unite for, even if they're feuding. Feuding is their child, or they should if they're good parents. I assume Carol's a bit annoyed with you because she and her ex built up their skills, got married, had a kid, and now a younger model came into the picture. That way, even if you say nothing was happening beforehand, it certainly doesn't read that way. She's probably sick of seeing your face at the house she should be in with the child she had with her ex. If someone took over my position in the family, they'd be hearing a lot worse than that. Exactly. I'm sure Carol is an excellent attorney. I'd be working on not allowing you around my children. Also, be honest. Did you get chummy with Carol's husband while they were still together? but to this office romance just happened to bloom after they divorced. You happily left your daddy's firm for his, but you got together after. I mean, she was 18 and he 32 when they met. She was Eric's boss's daughter, receptionist, and de facto nanny. But Eric was like, well, heck, if I'm getting divorced and starting my own law firm, what do I really need? A receptionist, nanny, and new person to bang. Up is a 3-in-1 deal. But don't worry. Eric's apartment is big, so it's all worth it. I wonder what Op's dad thinks about all of this, especially because Carol was the better lawyer. I bet her dad wishes she had run off with Carol instead. We can't assume that the romantic relationship overlapped with the marriage, and Op is not the only one to blame. Carol wanted to bring the baby to work with her. It sounds more like Carol wanted him close, and thus the secretary became the daycare. Carol and Eric were not too busy to find a babysitter, nor were they unable to find one. This sounds like a preference for me. I would say that they had OP taking care of their kid instead of paying for daycare. Also, I get that OP didn't have to call Carol a bully, but Carol did insult OP right in front of her own kid. To call Carol a bully, but Carol did insult Op right in front of her own kid. And that's Carol bringing the kid into it too. Kids absorb everything around them. They don't miss 9 comments. I'd say everyone's the idiot here, except the kid. He sounds very compassionate, despite growing up around idiots. I, female 32, got a private text this morning from the mother of my son's pre-tween classmate. She told me that my son has been calling her daughter's traditional lunch weird and things as such. And apparently, that makes her daughter feel uncomfortable and insecure. She asked me to please talk to my son about being more sensitive and respectful, so her daughter doesn't feel excluded. Now, I feel for this woman as a fellow mother. No one wants to see their child sad, but overcoming insecurities is a big part of growing up. Additionally, I thought it was ridiculous of her to criticize my young son for making relatively innocuous and curious comments about food that's not familiar to him. He's at a curious age and is discovering the world, and I refuse to try and limit him and shut him down for not having the emotional sensitivity of an adult. Politely, I told her that I was sorry her daughter was struggling with insecurities. I found some online parenting articles about building your child's confidence to send to her so she could use some tips to help her daughter out. She replied that I was acting completely shamelessly and disgracefully, and I could no longer text her. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Teaching your kids to be respectful of others' choices is not shutting him down. It's literally part of your job as the parent to parent. She didn't ask for punishment. Instead, she asked you to talk to him and explain how his comments can hurt other people. He's at an age where he exactly needs to learn that. You should help him reflect on the impact of his behavior. That's called parenting, not punishment. The parenting requires effort. She wants a little roommate. Well, Oop's son shouldn't have the emotional sensitivity of an adult. The little girl should learn how to deal with insecurities. How curious. Isn't it interesting that overcoming insecurities is a big part of growing up, but when it's her kid, it's ridiculous to criticize? And of course, the female child should have the emotional maturity to put up with being harassed by the male. Boys will be boys after all. Being respectful is also part of growing up. It looks like Opie skipped those lessons in her own schooling. She could join her son in primary school to revisit basic courtesy. Yeah, teach your son better words to use. That looks different. What is it? Fetch, or your lunch is interesting. What is it called? There's a fine line between being curious and being rude. Teach him not to be rude. Teach him not to use words like weird when looking at someone's food. Her daughter doesn't need lessons on confidence. Your son needs a lesson on cultural differences. Parent your child. It was incredibly condescending of you to send parenting articles to another parent. She made a polite request of you, and you implied she doesn't know how to parent. That was out of line, and you should apologize. A female 25, sister 27 is getting married. We don't come from a wealthy family. Her fiancé and his family are also not wealthy, so neither our parents nor his will help pay for the wedding. I got married 3 years ago, and my husband is wealthy enough, so we decided to help pay for their wedding. We will pay for the venue, catering, and the bride and bridesmaids' dresses. That's only what we agreed to, but we're happy to pay for more stuff in case the money is needed. We don't really have a problem with money, and it makes us happy to help them celebrate their wedding. I don't have a job, and I love to plan social events, especially weddings, so I offered my help to my sister, and she's very happy with my help. Up until now, we've had many discussions, and my sister, future brother-in-law, and I have been on the same page for almost everything. However, it's about time she buys her dress and picks the bridesmaids' dresses. So I went over to her apartment, and I suggested we could go shopping on the weekend, since she doesn't work. We could take our mom, her future mother-in-law, and maybe someone else if she wants to. My sister was taken aback by this request and said she planned to go alone because she didn't want to feel pressured to pick a dress she didn't like. She said it's happened with some other stuff and doesn't want it to happen with the dress. I told her that's not fun at all. Dress shopping is a nice activity to do together. I'm also her maid of honor, and I want to help her pick her dress. She told me I would bully her into buying a dress that I like and not one she actually likes and wants to use on her special day. We argued about this for a bit more. The more we spoke, the worse I felt because this was supposed to be a bonding activity. I invited her to go buy my dress when I got married. Why can't she do the same? Then I told her I felt like her ATM because she only wanted my money but didn't want to include me. She told me I offered to help them pay for the wedding. They didn't ask. And that I was an idiot for trying to gaslight her into doing what I wanted. Then I left. My husband agrees that if my sister can't do something as small as letting me go with her to buy her dress, then I should tell her that I won't help her pay for it. However, my sister cried to our parents, and my mom called me to tell me off because it looked like I was using my husband's money to get my sister to do anything I wanted for her day. You are the idiot and your sister's right. This isn't about you wanting to bond. This is about you wanting to have some control over your sister. If this was really about bonding, you would have said, "I'm sorry you feel like I tried to take over your day, but I promise I won't. You can get any dress you want. I just want to be there for you." But no, you won't say that because you want to choose her dress for her. It also sounds like it wouldn't be the first time Opie forced her sister into doing something she didn't want for her wedding. It's nice she offered to pay, but she needs to remember this is not her social event to plan. Up is an unreliable narrator who's clearly steamrolling her sister to do things Up's way because she has the money. Your husband is an idiot too. It's her wedding, not yours. Gifts with strings attached are not gifts. Up here you're a bulldozer. You want things your way and don't see that people aren't happy with those choices. I wouldn't be surprised if the sister elopes just to untangle herself from this supposed gift. I dated Olivia for 2 years. The breakup was mutual and we stayed close friends. My girlfriend now, Josie, isn't a huge fan of me being friends with Olivia, but is working towards accepting it with her therapist. The big thing is both of them come from different backgrounds. Olivia's mom is a nurse practitioner and her dad's a lawyer. So financially, her life has been good. Also, she was the only child, so she received a lot of attention. Josie grew up in poverty and both her parents passed away when she was super young. Her oldest brother was her main guardian, but a lot of her teen years she spent working so she could survive for herself. Josie admits she gets jealous when Olivia talks about her life or when I start worrying about Olivia's mental health. Josie and her friends were discussing colleges. Olivia attends one of the top 20 schools, while Josie attends a community college. I'm proud of Olivia for getting in. Well, Josie and her friends started talking about the kids who get in, because their parents usually have a lot of money. I got the sense Josie was talking about Olivia. She said she wasn't, but realistically, students like Olivia have more opportunities and resources that'll help them get admitted compared to kids like herself who are either working or at school. I told her Olivia works really hard to get into that school. Josie said she knows that. She's just saying it's easier to do extracurricular and volunteer hours when you don't have to worry about how you'll afford groceries. I told her she was just jealous of Olivia again, and it was getting really sad at this point. The admission team clearly saw something in her that got her accepted beyond her social class. And if Josie had balanced her time better, she could have made it into a school like that. Josie left in tears with her friends. Am I the idiot? Rushing out at your current girlfriend to defend your ex, who she hadn't insulted directly by accusing her of being jealous and blaming her for not balancing her time while she had to support herself as an orphan. Seriously? Yes, her older brother cared for her, but she had no parents, i.e. an orphan. So yes, you blamed an orphan for not managing their time better as a teenager while working to put food on the table. You were totally the idiot. She deserves better than to be treated like this, and you should totally express to your girlfriend that you're proud of her for going to community college. So, considering her background, that's an achievement worthy of praise. She's not letting her circumstances keep her down and is just as admirable as getting into a good college. I'm worried about Olivia's mental health. Bars. This guy wishes he was still with rich Olivia instead of the poor orphan who didn't go to a great college. How often do you bring up Olivia to your girlfriend? The fact that she has to be in therapy to be okay with it makes me wonder if Josie isn't the issue. You're the idiot here for 1,000 different reasons. Understood. I'm far more impressed with an orphan who gets through community college than a lawyer's daughter who gets through an Ivy League school. Who defends their ex when their current girlfriend talks about how wealthy colleges reward privilege. Someone who still wishes they were with their ex. My male 35 girlfriend Abby 32, of 6 months, has 2 cats. A skiffrey a week ago, she broke her leg and arm while climbing a climbing wall. I offered to help her with her chores. We don't live together and that I'd stay with her while she couldn't do much. She didn't want to accept, saying it was too much work, but I insisted. I thought it would be a great trial run to potentially live together in the future. We haven't talked about that yet. As I said, she has 2 cats. Her cats don't go outside, and she has carpets in her flat. She has 3 litter boxes. She instructed me that they need to be scooped daily and wiped down on the sides with pet wipes, and she said the carpets need daily hoovering with the cats. At first, I didn't mind, but it quickly got annoying. I tried talking to her about this, suggesting that 3 litter boxes are too many, that they can be cleaned every few days, etc. I tried to get her to see that she was being unreasonable and over the top, but she wouldn't budge, always finding an excuse for why she needed to do it that way. One day I was about to scoop the litter box, and there was just 1 poop. I told her that was ridiculous. It's just 1 thing. It can stay there until the next day. She asked if I was at least going to hoover, and I said no. There's only some fur on the ground, and a few pieces of litter. It'll be fine until the next day. She got annoyed with me. The next day, she told me her mother was coming to stay with her and that I had to leave. And she'd call me later to chat. Honestly, I was angry and we argued, and she called me a selfish idiot. She still hasn't called me, and my mates say I should have just waited with changes until we were living together because she couldn't dismiss my point of view then. I don't know. I kind of feel bad. I mean, she couldn't really do it herself. Was I the idiot? Should I call first and apologize? She still hasn't called me. Am I the idiot? Should I call first and apologize? Oh, you are going to try to force her to do things your way after you lulled her into living together. Well, you just blew the surprise. I suspect none of your mates has ever lived with their girlfriends, Afsiao. And no, she's not going to call you. Oh my gosh, she's 35 and thinks if I trap her into living together, she'll have to listen to me. It's a little scary that people plan this out. It's like, don't demand your way until she's stuck with you. That way, she'll eventually give in. That's why I won't remarry if my husband dies. He's great, and I don't like my odds of finding a good one after him. But oh well. As a cat owner, I will explain something. Cats hate dirty cat boxes. If they get too dirty, cats will go somewhere else. And she's right about scooping boxes multiple times a day. Her cats are basically her kids. This was an excellent trial run. She learned you really don't want to care for her cat and it's her kids, so hopefully she dumped you and you learned a valuable lesson. You don't want to be with a woman who has cats